Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're live and welcome to the program, which is going to start in just a few minutes. Now, being on the new Odyssey Radio, we have a little ad bump at the beginning, and I think they have news playing at that time. But we tap into the line in about 4 minutes. So all of you stand by with that. This is just kind of, hey, Ellie, if you want to say hi, now's the time to do it. After this, you're banned. She's not coming. She was just walked through here and was all disappointed that after our talk last night, that she could not participate in tonight's show the way she did last night. So, there she is. So there, I've just turned us on. We are now connected to the studio, but we're not playing quite yet. It'll be 4 minutes and 25 seconds after the top of the hour. So say hi. Miss Gumchankin. Where's your light pole to lean up against while you're chanking that gum? All right. So you say hi to everybody and then you run away fast. Run away, run away.
Hi, bye.
Hey, Waylon. What's Flynn doing? Flynn is getting ready for bed, Waylon. Just like you should be. It's 9 o'clock on a school night. This show launches in about 2.5 minutes. So everybody stand by. This is just getting here, getting all set up. I love the way this is working now. And we're also broadcasting to the Odyssey Radio Facebook page. You can go over there. There's a chat room there as well. I believe it broadcasts video and everything, just like this show. All from this source. Hey, Paige, good to see you. Leslie Holker, good to see you. I got to keep a close eye on the clock. That's the only thing about doing this way. I don't have a producer or an engineer sitting here, though Ron Phillips has engineered everything about this show now, and that's why it's all kind of automated. All I got to do is push a couple buttons. Let's see. What was it Scotty said in one of the Star Trek movies? The Excelsior ship. And he says you could pilot her with a chimpanzee and 2 cadets or something like that. So we've just got the chimpanzee here tonight. So, hey, Matthew Sainsbury and Field Guy. And who else is in there? I know Roger Rabbit was here. Sarah Nichols, good to see you. And so Grumpy Stack is here. Doug. And hey, everybody's lining up. And Waylon, if you're going to be sitting up, you can be here. That's a friend of my son's, by the way. So if you're going to sit in, you can watch. But Flynn's got to go to bed soon. Come here, Flynn. We're not actually on the air yet. We're on the YouTube channel. There's my son, my 12-year-old boy, Flynn. You don't see much of him. He's shy. Reticent. And he's a good man. That's my 12-year-old. And he's almost as tall as Rainey now. So you don't see much of Flynn, but there he is. He's been on his video game since he got home from school. So it's time for bed. And no, he said, no, don't embarrass me like that, Dad. Hi, beautiful. Mom, not you. Oh, you're beautiful too. You're just a littler beautiful. So we're almost ready to go live. Oh, we're live. So here we go, folks. Let's start this show with our fanfare opening.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAlanRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, AlanRoberts.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
All right, we're back. Thanks, everybody. How you doing tonight? Welcome to the show. There's my beautiful wife walking by the broadcast desk, but I don't think she's going to come over and say hi. She can if she wants. Welcome to the show tonight. And some of you who I didn't say hi to in the prelude, hello. Thanks for coming in, Carly. And, of course, Brianna. And I see Romeldian, and I see Master Finn is here. Good to see you. Matthew Sainsbury, Doug Stack, Sarah is here. Good to have you here, Sarah. And I think, who else did I see? I saw Paige in here, and there's a whole bunch of you. Roger Rabbit, everybody. So welcome to the show tonight. Thanks for being here. This is, of course, the Intrepid radio program, and running without a personal engineer. You noticed that at the very beginning. You might have seen a couple of little blips where I'm trying to get the intro. That's okay. That's part of how it's working right now. And I'll get the hang of doing this thing. But I love it. I love the setup. I want to thank Ron Phillips over at Mojo 50 and Odyssey Radio for getting this whole thing set up, making everything work for me. That's fantastic. And Rocky Stucci for all that he's put into this as well. And I hope you got to listen to their app. And this show also plays over at YouTube. We're on YouTube. Frankly, I'm on the radio station. I'm so used to saying I am on YouTube that we're on YouTube over at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. We're also on over at Facebook, over on the Odyssey Radio page. You can see the link in the description below over at the YouTube channel. I think. And we're also on Spreaker. You can go listen to it over there. If you want to join the chat room, you can do that here. Caught me talking for 5 or 6 seconds before your show start. That was my fault. Ron Phillips just messaged me. That was my fault. I hit the button just a little bit late to start the show intro, Ron. So I was just talking about that. We're open and honest here. I just me, the chimpanzee running the keyboard over here. So if you caught that tonight, folks, that was just me not pushing the button at the right time. So there we go. And so thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody I'm seeing in the chat room that I'm naming and talking to is over in the YouTube chat room. There's also the Facebook chat room that's going on. You can go over there as well. So there you are. And here you are. I want to thank you for being here tonight. And, there's so much things to talk about when it comes to current events, when it comes to stuff going on. There was one thing that caught my eye this morning that I don't think you're supposed to take it overtly seriously. But I love, did you see the fact that on Twitter this morning, it was Elon Musk, best known for this being the CEO of Tesla. And of course, he's got Starlink and he's got his rocket ships he sends up and all of that. He put out a challenge to Putin of Russia. and he challenged Putin to single combat, and the stakes were the Ukraine. Now, of course, some humorless people came in and responded, "You don't know the Ukraine. What makes you think that you can make a deal like that?" And it's like, shut up. This was just, it was said in jest, but I also think Elon Musk probably thinks he could take Putin. But wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't it be interesting if Zelensky challenged Putin to a hand-to-hand fight over Ukraine? Who do you think would win that fight? I'm interested. And with Musk and Putin, I wonder how Putin reacted to that. Probably just smirked at him and let it be. But I thought that was a lot of fun and very interesting that Elon Musk would have done that and said that. David and Goliath, says Matthew Sainsbury. Maybe for who? Who's tougher, Putin or Musk? Who could take him? Who here listening to the show, who thinks you could take Putin? Isn't Putin like has trained in Kung Fu? Used to be with the KGB, and I'm sure killed a lot of people hand to hand. You think he can handle us? So there you go. Scotty, your banner isn't going across the bottom. Why, thank you. See, Brianna, I need an engineer. You want the job? Let's turn that on. Boom, there it is. Banner. Thank you, Brianna. I appreciate that. And Brianna's my ad hoc engineer from a distance. So there it's going now. Yeah, KGB, Matthew. Delaney, Pearl Jones, good to see you. It's all vampires needing to feed off our fear and hate energy we generate because of war. Well, there is that. So thank you, Leslie. And thank you, Brianna, again. And yeah, so whatever happened to the two kings of a country fighting it out to win the day? How about that? You remember even in the biblical story with David and Goliath, what was the threat that Goliath gave to the armies of Israel, according to the story? It was, send me a man to fight with me in the open field here in single combat, and whoever wins the fight wins the day. And and there were no takers, of course. And you notice in that story what happened with Goliath. It says he made that challenge for 40 days. And it's the beginning of the significant part of, if it's just a story, it's a significant part of the story. I think that there is some truth to the events. But it says he came down from his lines into the valley and challenged Israel with this taunt of single combat. By the end of the 40 days, it says, and he came up to the armies of Israel. So what you've got is a valley, and there's a small hillside on the valley of Elah, where this is said to have taken place. And there's slopes, low slopes on either side. And the armies were pitched on either side, their lines. And so he was with the Philistine army. He was coming down his side and taunting Israel over on the other side of the valley. And then it says by the end of that time period, that 40 days, he was coming up the Israeli side. So he was coming up probably within 20 feet of them, I would imagine, and taunting them, and nobody would fight him until, of course, the story of David takes place. And that's a whole nother story. We'll cover that again one of these days when we're talking about the apologetic of the story of David. We did that big series a couple of years ago now called King David, the real life story of an invented hero. So that's the way I see David. There was a lot of apologetic written about a very real person who unified the clans in Judea and created the kingdom. But he was, unlike the apologetic about him, probably not a very nice guy. And he was a pretty bloody man by the end of his life. So it's interesting stories. Hey, Chuck Banks, send Biden to fight Putin. I would not put Ukraine up for stakes then. I don't think, and I don't say that to mock Joe Biden. He's in no condition. So what do you get? You lose a president of this country, and Putin keeps Ukraine. So, and somebody did correct the woman that was, talking down to Elon Musk, and said, he doesn't have any control over Ukraine. He's not saying Ukraine, he's going to give Ukraine. He doesn't have the power to do that. He's saying he's fighting for the freedom of Ukraine. So there you go. I thought that was an interesting thing today to see that. And, it's probably offered up tongue in cheek. Who knows if Elon Musk has the nads to be able to go to hand-to-hand combat with Putin. Putin's a little older. Maybe he doesn't have the skills he once had. But Elon Musk is no spring chicken either. So I think it'd be an interesting matchup. Tonight. Rumble, Putin and Musk. So there you go. And, there's something about all this stuff in the world that's going on. And it makes me think of some very common things that I grew up with, things that I've grown to really enjoy, things that are constant reminders to me in different ways about things. I look at the world today, and I was sitting with Rainey, and we were talking with our 10-year-old Rowan today, who was asking more questions about nuclear war. And because that has come up amongst even 10-year-olds, fourth graders. And so they're talking about that stuff. And she was asking what the devastation of nuclear war would be. What would be the result of that? And we were talking about, well, what if Putin launched a nuclear missile at the United States? What would be our response? You would have probably your peace purists who are true believers would say, we don't respond, because if we respond, we destroy the whole world. And we would rather die in Putin's one-sided nuclear launch than launch ours against them. Because all you're doing in that is you are destroying people that have nothing to do with the fight that Putin has started. Hey, Ro, did you want to add your 2 cents into this?
No, I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. And so she's standing in the wings. Yep, at 10 years old, Carly, there she is. There's Rowan. And you can't hear anything. Nobody's talking over here, Rowan. I got my headset on. But are you at all nervous about there being a possible nuclear war?
Yeah, I almost cried this morning. I'm worried.
What worries you the most? Do you think Putin is actually going to do something like that?
Yes, and you're gonna make me cry.
Well, don't cry. I'm here. And so, what's that?
I said, don't be worried.
Yeah, don't be worried. We've had nuclear scares before. When I was a kid, we still had in the 60s the duck and cover at school. They would make you get under your desk to practice. Hide under your desk to protect yourself from a nuclear explosion. We all know how well that would have worked. So we got to talking today. We were talking about World War II and how that ended, how Truman launched the atomic bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and how devastating that was. And that was a totally different kind of a bomb than we have now in our arsenals. So if Putin was stupid enough to launch a nuclear weapon at Ukraine or the United States, it would be stupid because the response would be massive. And the response would be one that would leave everybody in a nuclear winter for quite a long time. So I don't think anybody's here. I'll put your mind at ease. I don't think there's any world leader of the major superpowers that's dumb enough to start a nuclear war. I get a little nervous about countries like Iran having nuclear capabilities. That's why we've tried to stop them. So what do you all think? So do you all think that Putin is going to push the button? And what would be our response if Putin pushed the button? We were talking today about what the devastation of one nuclear bomb going off in the United States would be. That would end life as we know it, meaning everything you think is normal now is totally changed with the loss of life and with the loss of property or ground and so on. I don't know all the science behind it, but I know you land one nuclear weapon, say in New York City, what's going to happen to the rest of the country? What kind of nuclear fallout will there be, and so on. This is the way people were in the late 40s and the 50s and the 60s, even when I was a kid. These were the reactions we had to nuclear war. There was always a fear of nuclear war. And now Putin has raised that because what did he say? Remember the speech he gave a couple of weeks ago? The address he made? And he said something like, if the rest of the nations start standing up against me, you will see and experience something you have never experienced before. What kind of threat? Was that a vapid, empty threat? Or was that something, what was he talking about, do you think? So, Field Guy says he doesn't have the balls to push any button. I think he's not that stupid. Putin, with all the criticism you saw for Trump and other people that said they respect Putin, I have a respect for Putin. There's certain things about Putin I admire. I do not respect and admire what he's doing to the Ukraine right now. But one thing about Putin is that I believe he loves his country. What kind of patriot is he compared to what we define as patriots? And I don't know exactly. And, people said, how can you say that about, and how could Trump or anybody say that about Putin? Well, even back in his day, Truman said he had a lot of respect and admiration for Stalin, Joseph Stalin of Russia. But he was committing atrocities at the same time. He says, the man's committing atrocities and we are against him, but I have a lot of respect for him. And so I think what you see going on now is there's a man that's to be respected on a certain level, but a man that is to be abhorred on another level for what he's doing, and that's Putin. You don't attack civilians. You don't attack a country just because you want that country back. And I think that should be the posturing with anybody. It's defense. You don't go out with your 357 into the neighborhoods and find people walking around at night and shoot them to preemptively, it's a totally different thing. No, you have those weapons in your house for self-defense and to defend your home and so on. And of course, I'm not getting into this very deep. We're just talking superficially, talking about the way I was trying to talk to Rowan today, and Rainey and I were trying to talk to her today. I don't think we have anything to worry about nuclear war. I don't think it's going to happen. If that happens, then could you say it was meant to happen like anything else, or would that be a mistake in the Matrix? Was any war meant to happen? If that thing happens to us, I think we're going to see a vast change in life on this planet, and a vast change for those who survive it. So, Ro, I got your back, said Brianna.
Found Brianna on TikTok.
What's that?
Found Brianna on TikTok.
Brianna on TikTok?
Yeah.
She's not on TikTok. She's right there.
No, I found her account.
Oh, you found her. Uh-oh. Brianna, she found your TikTok. Yeah, what are you doing on TikTok?
Mom told me to post a video on TikTok.
No, I did not.
Yeah, remember that time in the car when you were singing and you're like, you should post that on TikTok.
Remember that one time? And, yeah. So, yeah, Leslie, me too. She says, Carly, it makes me angry that children have to worry about this kind of stuff. I grew up with it, and it's scary. Yeah, you and I both grew up in the same era. And so I'm more worried about places like China. I'm more worried about places like Iran having nuclear weapons, and some of those countries. That's why we have tried to keep them from having the ability to proliferate nuclear weapons. So anyway, all this stuff where I was originally going with this. Brianna's TikTok is PG, Mom. So says Brianna.
Well, Roland's not supposed to be on TikTok.
Shh, Mom.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be on TikTok at all. There was a little slip on her part, eh?
See, I have an account.
So, here's what I wanted to read tonight. It's something you've heard me read this before. It's a quote, and this is not new to my audience, but this is one of those things, as I started to say, that comes to my mind. And Ro, you can listen to this too. This is from Tolkien's book, and it was a little more paraphrased in the movie. You'd probably be more apt. You can pick up the book and look it up in The Two Towers. Or you can watch the clip near the end of The Two Towers, the second movie that was made almost 20 years ago now. And it's that speech. It's not really a speech. It's the monologue that Samwise Gamgee's has with Frodo. And it's actually that picture hanging back there that my daughter Bryn drew for me. That's a pencil illustration of Samwise Gamgee's and Frodo. And when he's helping him up Mount Doom or something like that at some point in the movie. And I wish I could bring you closer to it. It's way back there on the wall, probably a little blurry. But it's the quote, and you see that little plaque that's underneath. They did this quote up for me because they knew it was one of my favorite quotes from the movie. And this is what I think of in times that we're in now. The kind of stuff we're going. You look at the world around you and look what it's doing. And I'll admit, I'll be the first person, you know me, it brings tears to my eyes when I watch this clip in the movie. You can go see it because it has deep meaning. Excuse me, I've had this cough going for days now, just like Rainey had. So there's this speech, and we need to know about this even more than ever. It's very powerful. It's moving. And this is that little exchange. Sam is standing there toward the end of the Two Towers. And he's looking out and at the war, the landscape that's going on. And he says, it's all wrong. He says, by rights, we shouldn't even be here, but we are. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered, full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't, because they were holding on to something. Frodo says, what are we holding on to, Sam? And Sam said, that don't laugh at me. That there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. That is that quote from the book and from the movie, and it's slightly different in the book and the movie. You know, it's slightly paraphrased, but you get the idea. And that's an important thing now. There's all these dark, bad stories. And we always wonder when I read you stories and there's darkness going on. Remember A Monster Calls? I don't know if you heard the whole thing or if you fell asleep through some of that. But there's darkness. You don't know how it's going to end. How can people go back to the way things were? And that was the message that Sam was giving Frodo in there. He said that there's good in this world, and we fight for that good. And so you have to believe that goodness overtakes darkness. Does darkness ever overtake goodness? Yeah. Darkness overtakes the light. Sometimes it does. And you have to fight your way back into the light. And you work against it. Must all evil fail all the time? No. Evil prevails. We see it all the time. The problem nowadays is we've become more savvy to understanding that evil is a lot more subtle than we used to think it was. It's not as overt as it used to be, it seems. There are certain evil things that stand out, but then there are things that we go, I didn't know how evil that was underneath its slick surface. So, greetings to everybody who's coming into the chat room. I'm glad to have you here tonight. So that is what I am reminded of. It's quotes like that from Tolkien's book, which was very much an anti-war book in his day. He had served in World War I, as we know. By the way, you want to see a really good movie about Tolkien. I think it's called Tolkien, if I'm not mistaken. It came out a year or two ago, and a very good movie about his younger days and the forming of who he became known as. And so I think you'll really enjoy that if you have time. So Michelle Canham-Free, good to see you. David Castle, good to see you. Thanks everybody for coming in. Darkness is necessary for growth and appreciation of the light, says Sarah. Sarah Yusuf. And would agree, says Rameldine. And so anyway, that's my thought tonight on this. And it was Rowan's questions and her comments today that made me think of that all over again. That's why I have that hanging on my wall back there. It's a reminder to me that as dark as things can get, we can counter that. We can fight that. We ask the question, how can we go back? I know in the same trilogy of movies, at the end, Frodo is having this little soliloquy in his house at Bag End at the very end. And he's saying, he said something about how can you go back to the way things were? How can you pick up the pieces of a tattered life and make it whole again? And that's the question. He said, some wounds go too deep for healing. And even though on the surface things have seemed to heal and you've come out of the dark. So there you go. Yeah, Carly. Indeed. Bless your heart, she says, Ro. So why don't you? I'm not sure what you're working on there. Is it bedtime, Mom? For these kids? That's for my radio audience. If you've got kids and you live in our time zone, it's bedtime. What are they doing up? At least you're not as annoying as Ellery was last night. So,
I know, right?
yeah. So there are some things you can never go back to because the wounds never heal, Leslie says. That's exactly what Frodo said. I remember at the time those movies were out, and when they first came out on DVD, this is back in 2004, I think it was, and I was watching that movie. It was on in the afternoon because Sam was watching it, and my ex-wife came to pick up Sam, who was 4 years old at the time. So it was 2005, and she came to pick up Sam. She was very disapproving of the Harry Potter movies and the Lord of the Rings movies. And she didn't think I should let the kids watch those. And I said, well, I had sole custody, so I didn't care at that point. I tried to respect some of her wishes, but I disagreed with her on that. And it happened to be playing. That movie had been playing all day, and Sam was in and out watching it while I was working. And so in the afternoon after school, she came to get Sam, and here's this person who didn't like it. And he wasn't there yet. She was waiting for the girls to come home from school. Oh, he was there. I'm sorry. The girls weren't. So she had to sit and wait, and I invited her to come in. I said, go ahead. And it's the last 20 minutes. I said, watch that and see how that affects you. And it was that scene where Frodo is walking through the house and he said those lines, how do you go back to the way things once were? And that whole line of scenes, going to the Grey Havens, the boat, and all of those things, and saying goodbye to Sam, and things like that. And she cried at the end of that, shed some tears at that. And I think that changed her disposition on the movies when she saw what they were really all about. So, what Tolkien was all about. So, so that's what I wanted to say about that. And that was prompted by our conversation with Rowan today. So you come to fetch her. All right. Good night. Thanks for being here. You got to go to bed. So we're doing that during the radio show. Yes, for those of you listening. My family exists, lives and thrives, ebbs and flows in and out of the broadcast of this radio show almost every night. So I hope you find that enjoyable, some of you. And those of you who are annoyed by that, I'm sorry, but I make no apologies. It's the way it is. So good night, everybody says. Brianna says good night, sweetheart, to you, Ro. Good night. And I wonder what you think about all of that. You're welcome to put your thoughts into the chat room. I can't pay as close attention to the chat room as I'd like to, but maybe you've got some thoughts you want to share about that. And I have to say, the stuff we were going to talk about tonight is a little extension from last night, and it's going to go on for a couple of more nights. Okay. It's going to go on for a couple of more nights. We're going to be on this topic of self-esteem, the self, and so on. And I want to see if I can segue this into what we're talking about with this whole self-esteem issue. Remember, I said tonight, well, maybe you didn't see it, but the ad, I said we're calling this the self factor. Is it really all that, this whole self stuff that we hear about? Or is it just too damn much hullaballoo? And how do we tie in like these conversations that I had with Rowan and Rainey today? How do we tie that in? What's the segue? What's the meetup there when we talk about self and nurturing self and so on? You can see a 10-year-old already has a very remedial grasp of what's going on in this world. Doesn't understand the politics in and behind it all, and the buried politics that some of us may never know anything about. But the fear is there. It's the fear of my world could be destroyed. What does that do to somebody's self-esteem or their self-worth? What does that do to you when you think about that? Self as an ego, Sarah. Not necessarily talking about the ego, but everybody's got ego. There's nothing wrong with ego. We hear so much negative about ego that we forget that ego is a positive thing too. The ego, the self, the things that we're made up of. It's when we nurture ego, and it's like narcissism. Ego taken to the wrong place becomes narcissism. But then again, we're all narcissistic to a certain degree as well. We all get up in the morning, and before we go out and meet the world, we look in the mirror. You comb your hair, you brush your teeth, you shave, you put on makeup, whatever you do in the morning, you try to make sure there's no coffee stains on your clothes. And we do that. Why do we do that? That's a certain level of narcissism, because we care about ourselves. We care how we look. We care how we express ourselves to the rest of the world. So narcissism, ego, that's okay to a certain degree. But we had all this stuff that was really pushed toward us. It was kind of a new age thinking thing, the new age psychobabble that was going on about everybody's got to care for their self-esteem. And it became almost a caricature of itself after a while. We get so tired of hearing how's your self-esteem today? And it drove us batty after a while. Well, the thing is, self-esteem is a good thing. It's a good thing to look at. It's a good thing to nurture. But is it all that it's cracked up to be with the hype behind it? What is it? What's the hullabaloo all about? And we started last night. I was talking about how self-esteem is the immune system of our consciousness. It's the thing that prevents the decay and the disease and the bacteria, and I'm talking metaphorically, that attacks our consciousness. There's realities we can't avoid. One of them is the importance of self-esteem. And I said there are really two great functions of our self-esteem. And I've got them down here. One is the confidence in our ability to think, confidence in our ability to cope, and confidence with the basic challenges of life, and also confidence in our right to be successful and happy, the feeling of being worthy, of deserving, of entitled to assert ourselves about our needs and our wants. I'm not talking about, I am worthy and I am worthy of your worship and you must all worship me now. Bow at my feet or feel the wrath of my anger, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about when being worthy. Worthy is a word that I grew up with in the church. We had those songs, those choruses that would talk about worthy is the lamb that was slain, to receive glory and honor and power and strength, honor and glory and blessing. There was a song like that. And it was one of those worship songs. And so worthy always had a different kind of a connotation to me. Are we worthy of certain things with ourself is the big question. Are we worthy to have our needs and our wants fulfilled, to have to achieve our values, to enjoy the fruits of our efforts? And we're going to define a lot of this stuff as we go along in this. But I don't share the belief that self-esteem is a gift we have only to claim by reciting these affirmations I mentioned last night, prayers of affirmation, sayings. Michelle Cannon Free, you post a lot of beautiful sayings and affirmations on your YouTube, or not YouTube, your Instagram channel. She's one of our listeners, folks, and who don't know her. And that's beautiful stuff. But is that where our self-esteem comes from? No, there are core values in those things that you post that are things we should all focus on. But reciting those does nothing. It's like standing in my garage doesn't make me a car. Going to church doesn't make me a Christian, or a Jew in synagogue, or a Muslim in the mosque. Going someplace, reciting something doesn't make us anything. It's what happens on the inside. It's what we, and so the basic pattern we have to follow, to trust one's mind and to know that one is worthy of happiness, is the essence of self-esteem. It's the power of this conviction about oneself that lies in the fact that it's more than a judgment or a feeling. It's not just a feeling. It's not a manufactured thing we do. It's a motivator. It inspires our behavior. In turn, it's directly affected by how we act. And that's kind of what we left off on last night. We didn't get much farther so far tonight. We got about 13 minutes left of this show, thereabouts. And so there's a continuous feedback loop between our actions, the things we do, the way we treat people, the way we treat ourselves out there. There's a continuous feedback loop between our actions in the world and our self-esteem. The level of our self-esteem influences how we act, and how we act influences the level of our self-esteem. And so if I trust my mind and my judgment, I'm more likely to operate as a thinking human being. Do you trust your mind? Do you trust your judgment? Rainey and I have these kinds of conversations all the time. We don't always say, do I trust my mind and my judgment? It comes out in different ways that we converse about things. The way we act towards our children, the way we discipline, the way we carry on with each other sometimes, the way we act out there in the world with people and interact. These are all the things. These are the things that we do. Are we thinking human beings with the way we act? Do we trust the way we approach the world? Do you have a one thing I'm trying to instill in my children is I want them to have confidence. I want them to trust the way they think. I want them to trust their judgments. But of course, you can't leave them without a compass on that either. You've got to instruct them on how to develop good thought, how to develop good judgment, and how to trust what they're doing and to trust what they think. When Rowan sheds a tear over this, she can trust that. She can trust the way she feels about it. But what needs to be refined with that is the question. What needs to come out to help her build her confidence and to help her get to a place where she needs to be? So we have to reinforce the trust that's in our mind. If I distrust my own mind on things, Ro, if you don't have any trust in what you think and what you know to be right and true, any of you listening, if we distrust that, I'm more likely to be mentally passive. Passive meaning I'm not going to be pushing myself to do any better. I'm not going to work to gain confidence if we don't trust where our mind is taking us. And when my actions lead to disappointing or painful results, I feel justified in distrusting my mind. You look at the outcome of your actions. So with high self-esteem, I'm more likely to persist in the face of difficulties. With low self-esteem, I'm more likely to give up or to go through the motions of trying without really giving my best if I don't have a strong self-esteem. Yes. What do you got?
That's
Okay.
if World War III happened. That's if people just stay happy. Like, what's wrong with that?
Peace and quiet, did you say?
Yeah. And, like,
So Rowan made this.
What's
It's about the
so
world, about peace and quiet. And this is World War III. This is World with Peace. There you go. Which she just drew as we were talking about all of this.
like, why can't
For
we
those
just
of
be
you who
happy?
can see the video feed on this.
Why can't Russia just be happy?
Why can't Russia just be happy? You know, that's a good question. And that's the thing we have to be careful of too. It's not all of Russia. It's the leaders of Russia that are doing this. I'm sure they have convinced some of the people to believe that way. Carly Sagan says that's beautiful, bro. I'm sure Putin has convinced people to believe what he believes. But I think the Russian people are the ones that don't want war. The Ukrainian people don't want war. What would happen if Russia, as the people, stood up against their leader? It's like in Iran with all the problems there. I said a few years ago when we talked about this, the people there want nothing more. Good night. The people there want nothing more than to have peace and to share art and culture. But their leadership doesn't allow that the same way they want it. So it's all ties into our self-esteem. What do you have confidence about? What do you trust yourself to believe? How do you then trust yourself to act? I'm going to tell you something. Thinking something in your head is empty and meaningless. It's vapid. It's void. It's a wasteland if you don't put that into your actions. The way we act develops our self-esteem and our confidence. The way we don't act does the same thing. So with high self-esteem, I'm more likely to persist in the face of difficulties, and I'm more likely to crumble if I have low self-esteem. I'm more likely to give up and just go through the motions of trying without giving my best if I have low self-esteem. Research shows that high self-esteem subjects are going to persist at a task significantly longer than low self-esteem subjects. So if I persevere, the likelihood is that I'm going to succeed more often than I fail. If I have persistence and perseverance, if I keep getting up when I get knocked down, you develop that strength in that outer core that you need to develop the strong inner core. If I persevere, the likelihood is that I'm going to succeed more often than I fail. And if I don't, the likelihood is that I'm going to fail more often than I succeed. And either way, my view of myself is going to be reinforced one way or the other. My view of myself is that I either trust myself or I don't trust myself. And that is the basis of our self-esteem. If I respect myself and require that others deal with me respectfully, I send out signals and behave in ways that increase the likelihood that others are going to respond appropriately to me. And when they do, I'm reinforced and confirmed in my initial belief. If I lack self-respect and consequently accept discourtesy or abuse or exploitation from others as natural, I'm going to unconsciously transmit this to other people. And some people are going to treat me at my self-estimate. So when this all happens and I submit to it, my self-respect deteriorates even more. So the value of self-esteem doesn't lie just merely in the fact that it allows us to feel better. It's not a feel-goodism thing, but that it allows us to live better, to function better, to act better, to respond to challenges and opportunities more resourcefully and more appropriately. This is what real self-esteem is all about. Keep looking at the clock. I keep worrying about that clock because I have the ability to talk right over it. So, we got 9:51:55 right now. So we got about, about 5 minutes left of this show, a little less. So the impact of self-esteem is this. I have some general observations about that. We can't get very far in this, but the level of our self-esteem has really profound consequences for every aspect of our existence and our interaction out there in the world. How we operate in the workplace, how we deal with people, how high we're likely to rise, how much we're likely to achieve. And in the personal realm, with whom we're likely to fall in love, have a relationship, how we interact with our spouses, our children, our friends, what level of personal happiness we attain, what level of contentment we have. Contentment, that's a word that we fail on so much. We're so discontent in this society, in our society. You know, all the stuff, self-esteem, the self factor, this is first world problems. This is what we deal with here. But you know what? It's the same thing. If you lived in a mud hut on the Serengeti, do you have to worry about your self-esteem? Probably in different ways and in different areas. This is more a problem of people like we are in our society that have a million different things in different directions that we are taking every day. If all we had to do was tighten up our loincloth and grab our spear and go out hunting for wild boar for the day, and that was our whole job, what's our self-esteem? Do I have to worry about my self-esteem? Maybe I don't throw a spear very well or whatever, whatever. You get the idea. So, I could go on. There's so much more, and we've only got a few minutes of the show left. So I can't really take it too deep. But there's a lot of positive correlations between our healthy self-esteem and a variety of all kinds of other traits that bear directly on our capacity for achievement and for happiness. Healthy self-esteem correlates with rationalism, rationality, realism, intuitiveness, creativity, independence, flexibility, the ability to manage change, willingness to admit and correct mistakes, benevolence, cooperativeness. All of those things come out of a healthy self-esteem. And poor self-esteem correlates with irrationality, blindness to reality, rigidity, fear of the new and unfamiliar, inappropriate conformity or inappropriate rebelliousness, defensiveness, over-compliance or over-controlling behavior, and fear or hostility towards others. And we see that there's this logic to all of these correlations, whether you have good or bad self-esteem, a self-worth, a vision of who you are and who you should be. So the implications for survival, adaptiveness, personal fulfillment are obvious. Self-esteem is life-supporting and life-enhancing. So that's all the further we can take that tonight, because we got to wrap things up in very short order here. So take a look at that stuff and see how it affects you. Look at your self-esteem. We got more to say on this and more coming on this. So I want you to, of course, take an inner look, like I asked you to do when we talk about the spiritual side, the being awake, and all of that. So take it to heart, and we'll have some more conversations about it. If you're in the YouTube channel, you can stick around after we sign off. But it's about that time we get out of here, folks. So I want to say thanks for being here. We'll be back 23-hour break, and we'll be right back. So you hang on. Live long and prosper.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAlanRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, AlanRoberts.com, to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
All right, guys, I'm still here. If you're still there, I'm still here. We're not going to drag on for another hour like we did last night. And there's only 3 of you left. But thank you, Sean. I appreciate the free. Thank you. Yeah, we're down to like 9 people watching. So Leslie says my hubby Andy is the guy with the Scotty Robert the Rocket cigar. That's right, in the ad. Just an FYI, his nickname is Boogie. Boogie, not Boogie. So yeah, that was funny. I learned in Harry Potter that the British word for a booger is a bogey. Remember that? In the Harry Potter movie? Oh, I've got a bogey.
I thought you were done.
So I'm done. We're still in the chat room over on the YouTube channel. It's still broadcasting on the YouTube channel, but it has ended officially with Odyssey Radio tonight. So it goes fast. So, hey, Steve Clark, how you doing? Good to see you. We're just going to be wrapping things up here pretty soon. But so that's the conversation we had tonight with Ro that we talked about earlier in the show tonight.
I'm amazing.
So-
You should have me next time too.
I should do what the next time?
You should have me next time too.
Yeah, I should. I should have you next time too.
Yeah, I'm amazing.
Well, how's your self-esteem?
I don't know what that is.
Your view of yourself, your view and your confidence, you trust your ability to be who you are. You're not weird or
I am weird.
No, I mean in a deficient way. You're not.
I'm mentally disabled.
You are mentally. All of my children are mentally disabled. So there you go. Brianna, good to see you. You're off to bed and your phone's almost dead. Go plug it in and have a good night's sleep. We'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully we'll see you and John and the kids soon. Maybe even this weekend. We'll see what's going on. So, nope, I didn't say that for your benefit. So, there we go. All right, guys. Paige says she's weird. Paige Sewell says she's weird. Sewell, is that how you say your last? Suey. Souei. Suey. Suey, something like that. And so there you go, Rowan. There you are. Okay. My gymnast, my volleyball player, my athlete. This one's the athletic one.
I had volleyball tonight.
Yes, you did. Okay, time to get ready for bed, guys. Flynn's down here on the floor petting the dog. Ellie's over there being mouthy. Fun, but mouthy.
I already brushed my teeth.
Mom's still working over there,
I
so
picked out my clothes for tomorrow.
that's how they end up. They take advantage of the things
That's
we
my
do at the end
hat.
of there's Ellery.
That's my hat. Here, wait.
So there they all are. It's 10 o'clock, 10:07, 10:01, and these kids need to be in bed.
Light a pat, Annabelle gave
It's too late. You know when I'm going to remind you of this? How late it is right now? It's 7 a.m. tomorrow. Flynn,
Ow!
what are you doing?
She farted in my face.
No, I didn't.
There you go, folks. Live and real and in your face. Well, nobody can see you when you dance off the camera like that. Okay, I need you to go to bed, and I need you to go to bed too.
I have a cracked top.
All right. Good night, guys.
And it's mine.
Yeah, go. Good night. Not having a repeat of last night. Let's go. Go. You too. Good night. I love you.
Love you.
Love you too. Good night, guys. All right. Thank you, Carly. It's a pain in the ass sometimes, but thank you. So, Mom's over there trying to round up the herd of cats, so to speak. So, Mom doesn't feel good, so yeah.
I don't want to go to bed yet.
She doesn't want to go to bed. She doesn't want to go lay down. So you guys go to bed, and Mom and Dad will go to bed at our appropriate times. So, good night. All right, guys. So there it is. Those of you who are left are kind of the core of the people that are here. I'll just mention one more time the Kickstarter for The Sword and the Clay. If you would like to go in and pre-order your book, it really helps not just get you the book, but it helps the perception that's out there that there's interest in this book and interest in this kind of publishing, these kinds of works. So if you're interested in supporting me, supporting the publishing effort and this book, The Sword and the Clay, which you're all very familiar with, go on over to the the Kickstarter page. And as a matter of fact, I can actually post the link for you. For those that are here and you don't have the link handy, this is the short link right here. And I will put that in the chat room. Thank you, Leslie. Leslie put it in. There's the short link. That's working on it. There it is. So you can go there and check it out. Go listen to some of the readings. There's only one video up on the of readings. It's the main video at the page. And then there's a sub video with me talking about the book and the construction of the book. And then there's a bunch of the pictures and things you've already heard on this on my show many times. So we've got a little over 2 weeks left on that campaign. And we have 15 days left. And we've kind of stalled out at a little over $2,000. And we need 20. So these things can have a way to snowball at the end. And keep in mind, too, if you go make a pledge, it doesn't come out of your card today. You only get charged if we make our goal at the end of the month. So March 31st is the last day of pledging on this book. So we got 15 days left. So there you go. Hey, Barbie D. So let's see. Greetings, favor, everybody. David Castle, good night, brother. Thanks for being here. And everybody who's here. And I hope you enjoy the new incarnation of the show. And it's not much different than the old incarnation, is it? We've just picked up where we left off, just with a little new tech, a little wider reach, and a good station behind us. And we're just going to move forward and do the best that we can do. You're welcome, Matthew. Wish I could get multiple, Scotty. I'm sorry. I can't, but sending, that's okay, Carly. If you want to help, pass that link around. Let people know what you think of what you've heard of the book and my art, my writing, and so on, and throw the link out there. If you can't buy a book and you would love to support, show people the way and where to go. And I would appreciate that too. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that, brother. St. Patrick's Day plans, asks Sarah Yusuf. I've got none this year. That's 2 days away. Thursday? Wednesday. Today's Monday. So Wednesday.
Today's Tuesday.
Is today Tuesday?
There's a parade in the
It's Tuesday. I got up this morning and I'm getting what everybody else has, and it treats us all differently. For me, the cold was I got up and I felt like I had a weight on the top of my head and everything just pulling me down to the floor. And I was like, oh my God. And I got home and I worked and I thought I was going to go lay down again right away after I took the kid to school. And I ended up doing stuff, finishing a project for a client. I had a conversation with an old friend that called, and I didn't want to put that off. And so I sat down here, and around noon, I had a sandwich and some soup, and boom, I crashed. I needed to do it at 8:30 this morning, but slept some of that off, and I think I got up around 4:30 or 5 o'clock. So I slept like 2.5 to 3 hours this afternoon. So, Matthew says, I have some stories for you on Russia and Stalin. If I can come on virtually another time, it's connected to Purim, which I'll be going to a Purim party tomorrow evening. Are you talking about Purim as in the Jewish festival of Purim? I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Yeah, I'd love that sometime, Matthew. Let's do that. Congress is voting to remove daylight savings time. Says, yeah, we're in the middle of it now. So, Sarah, what part of the country are you in? Sarah Yusuf. Because here in Central, it kind of threw me a bit today because I'm still not used to it being daylight savings time. And I'm looking and it's still bright outside, and I realize it's 6:30. So, yeah. Daylight savings time is a joke. I think it was supposed to be good at the time they implemented it, but it's different now. Why do we have it anymore? Corned beef and cabbage. Oh, yes, corned beef and cabbage. Maybe on St. Patrick's Day, I'll read you a good Irish tale, an old tale. Remember Jamie Freel and the Fairies? I'll read you that story. I think that'll be a great St. Patty's Day story. And onions, says Barbie D. You're on the east, Sarah. Okay. And so, yeah, everybody that gets to know all my friends in Egypt and England and all that, they all get thrown by our daylight savings time a bit. So, thank you, Leslie. Yeah, I'm still recovering from heart surgery. Yeah, I am. But maybe that's why it hits me so hard. And it's a cold. It's just a cold. I get a little bit, it's like right down here in my throat, and a dry, annoying cough, a non-productive cough, as they say. And you can hear it in my voice probably a little bit. It's been that way the last 4 or 5 days. And Rainey's was really bad. She lost her voice altogether. And I just felt overwhelmingly tired. My whole body felt like it wanted to melt into the floor. So you're pretty sure it's what?
The flu. Wait for the rest to kick in.
Oh, thank you. Rainey says she's pretty sure it's the flu. Wait for the rest to kick in. So there you go. Hopefully it won't. Then I get this dry cough with it. It's nutty. And so I'm liking the new show. I'm liking the new format. I'm liking everything about it. And I'm appreciating the fact that you're all still here for it. That means a lot to me. Couple of people missing. Mike Yehudi, I don't think I saw him in the relaunch. We got to get a hold of some of our friends. Mike Yehudi, Corey Browning. I haven't seen him for a while. Love to see him come back. And I'm only saying this because there's only a handful of you here on the YouTube channel. And some of the people that contribute a lot. We saw Niall yesterday. It was good having Niall in here. It's his birthday today. Well, it's past today in Ireland now. It's the 16th now. But the 15th is Niall Parkinson's birthday. If he's on your friend list, to go wish him a happy birthday. Belated now. And so there you go. Warm milk and honey. Where did that go? It just went up. Honey and turmeric, says Sarah. Old family recipe. To give that a try. And girls have cooties, Scotty Roberts, says Sean Stroik. Ain't that the truth?
Boys have cooties. He always makes me kiss him. That's why I got sick.
Yeah, I always make her kiss me. Well, come over here and say hi since you're in the wings now. There's the Rainy. There she is.
Here I am.
How you feeling?
I don't feel good today.
I've barely touched you today. So, you feel good?
Yeah, but I don't feel good.
Yeah, I know.
There's apple juice under the table. Oh my god, they decided to make lunches now. This time
It's
change
10 o'clock at
stuff
night. Oh,
is shit.
yeah.
It is
Well.
shit. It has messed up the kids' sleep schedule. Ellie slept today from like 4:30 until 7, so I'm sure bedtime's going to be really late tonight.
That's great.
Right?
That's great. So, she'll be up annoying us for another hour. So,
Dumb kids.
you don't have to hunch to look. I'll just turn the camera up. I don't want you to have to feel
No,
like
I
you
don't wanna
gotta.
stand up. It makes my head hurt.
Oh, all right.
I'm gonna go help these kids get their lunch.
All right.
made.
All right.
Right.
I'm going to get off of here in a few minutes. So, all right. There you go. There's the Rainy. And so, anyway, thank you, Paige. We appreciate that. And good night, Carly. And Roger, wherever you are. All right, guys. Make a wish, says Michelle Canham Free. I wish to be cootie free. Let's see. That's about all I got for tonight. We could just stretch it on and talk about nothing. But there's 8 of us left here, and I think it's time we all get to bed. Unless you're out on the West Coast, it's pretty early. So thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate it. And this show will, of course, be available almost right away on the YouTube if you want to watch it, if you missed it. And the chat room won't show up for about another 24 hours. They have to look at it or something. It has to propagate over. So that's all we got. So thank you for being here. You guys have a good night and have a good day tomorrow. We'll see you the same time tomorrow night. Pending disaster. All right. Live long and prosper. Well, that was